Hi guys, Kinsey Schofield here, and I'm talking to Hollywood Raw about all things royal. Did Catherine and Meghan hate each other? Did William and Catherine watch Suits? What's inside Spare? Find out. Listen now.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page, guys. We're happy to have you here. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us comments, do all the stuff.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. I got a drug addiction to feed. So you must not be sleeping. Are calls coming from everywhere for you right now? Because everything that's going on with the book and the royals, like what is life for you right now?
Life for me is Red Bull and Monster energy drinks and knowing way more about Prince Harry's penis than I ever wanted to.
Whoa! I love it. Knowing when it's been frostbitten, when it's been healthy, all of the things.
All the things. I know all of the things. I know that he mounted a woman like a stallion. Oh, good Lord, I've got details.
So I know, Kinsey, you are a royal expert, but there has been so much royal news over the last, 4, 5, 6 months. Maybe you could even say last 2 years. Things that no one thought they would ever know about the royals. Do you feel that Prince Harry is starting to ruin the legacy of the royals, or this is amazing to get this kind of detail into the royal lives?
Oh my gosh, you've asked me such a naughty question because I should tell you that I should tell you that Harry is a liability to the royal family. But 10 years from now, we are going to be like, and then he did this, and then he did this, and we're going to just eat it all up. So, historically, he is giving us a lot of interesting content. But Dax, behind the scenes, we did know that people that worked within the royal family planted stories. It's always been like that. He specifically with Anderson Cooper accuses Camilla of leaking stories about him and Meghan to elevate her status. And while I haven't heard that specifically, I do know that Camilla did that on the regular when Diana was alive. She specifically made relationships with media to leak stories about Diana. So, it's been around forever. It's always been like this. Harry's just the first one that's coming out and kind of saying, I guess he's just the first one kind of telling the world, because it was really only known in the royal watching community.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the whole thing. I love the royals. I love just the whole storyline behind all of it, honestly. But I still feel for Meghan and Harry. I feel like they kind of got a bad end, and I know that you feel very differently, but I feel for them. And I got to imagine that if you are constantly beat down by the media and by your family for so long, there's going to be a point where it's like your breaking point, and you're like, and I don't know if he's thinking ahead, like, oh, everything I'm saying is ruining them, but I think he's saying this is my truth and I want to get it out, and I'm tired of like being bashed. That's kind of how I look at a lot of it.
Look, and you're embarrassed while you say that, Dax. I can see. But can I just say, like, I agree with you. Harry, speak your truth. Tell your story. But it's not your place to tell me that Prince William is circumcised. That's not your place. Or when he talks about Prince William, he finds out that Prince William actually went through the same tunnel Diana died in, because at the same speed, because he wanted to know what her last moments were like, to tell us that William did not want Charles to marry Camilla. These are very intimate details that I really don't think are his place to tell. Tell your story, because it's not like we've been able to shut him up over the last 2 years. Tell it. But don't you think it's unfair for him to talk for his brother, who we all know is not in a position to talk for himself?
So I would say, okay, sorry, Adam, you go, because I feel like I could keep going here. But
yeah,
Adam,
no, I'm just very curious, Kinsey. And this is a very difficult question to answer, because I don't really know the media, how I haven't covered the British tabloids or British news media and how they're covering Harry and William. But has there been any conversation or any stories? And this is a very weird or tough question. I don't know how people are going to respond to me. And it's just only because of so many stories are coming out. But has anybody ruled out that possibly Harry has some sort of Asperger's or some sort? We know he has like mental issues, but mental issues, where we all have mental issues. But, have they
really
ruled
do.
anything? Yeah. Have they ruled anything like that out? And I only ask it because it's just so chaotic. like chaos where I don't know if it's us turning the volume up on this drama or if there's maybe something that it's just unfortunately he was kind of working with or born with.
Well, we don't know of anything specifically. That's a great question. We don't know of anything specifically, but there are people coming out right now because of this ITV and CBS interview that are saying that we could potentially be witnessing a mental breakdown or a nervous breakdown. And that I almost said, well, if that's really the case and this is not vengeance and this is not revenge or cruelty, then there absolutely is an open door for reconciliation, because how do you not sympathize with that? How do you not want to embrace that person and love on them and help them get better? I'm not an expert in the field, so obviously I can't say that it's a mental breakdown or anything of the sort, but there are people saying that. And another question I'm hearing a lot over in the UK or outside of our country is who's surrounding him? Who's counseling him? Because is it really a smart idea to talk about how many people you murdered while you were at war? I mean, is it really a smart idea when you're so concerned about safety to challenge the Taliban? And so people are asking questions like the one you just asked. It's not cruel to be curious about that. People are wondering who is around him. Why are they telling him some of these stories are a good idea to share? And then alternatively, you have people say he's just putting it all out there so nobody can hang anything over his head ever again.
That's kind of how I feel. And I also going back to your question before about like, what's the point of revealing this information? I guess in my mind, I'm like, I give him like credit for him being the one to reveal it rather than hide behind leaking out that story to the press and not putting his name on it. Like he's putting his name on everything and saying, look, I'm gonna tell you the story. I'm not gonna leak it out through a third party. I'm gonna tell you the story so that no one else can, throw me under the bus anymore. Because I bet there's a lot of stories that can go out about the royal family still moving forward that would be very damaging to them, that the world doesn't know about yet.
But keep in mind that this is a new development for Harry, because Meghan and Harry were leaking stories. I mean, they were very savvy. The second that they realized what was going on, they just started doing the same thing. They also leaked stories through their friends, which we now know were Omid Scobie. We found that out through a court case. They denied having anything to do with the book Finding Freedom. And through a different court case, I believe it was with the Daily Mail, they had to admit that they did participate in the book Finding Freedom. So they were also guilty of it. This is a new development, Dax.
So for people that don't know, Prince Harry's got a book coming out. I mean, you got to be living under a rock to not know that Spare. Technically, we are taping this on Monday. It drops Tuesday. This episode comes out Wednesday. What are you expecting from this book?
I think all of the biggest revelations are already out now. I think that we're going to get our fill of Harry information, but I do think that it's ultimately going to hurt his relationship with the family, but it's going to increase his celebrity in the United States.
So is he doing this though to become a celebrity? Is he doing this to raise his name, develop his own as like almost character, or is he doing this for financial reasons?
I think he's doing it for financial reasons, and I think he wants to set the record straight. He feels like there's been a negative narrative okay, here's my issue, guys. He talks in the book about this physical fight he has with Prince William, where William says to him, your wife is rude. Your wife doesn't get along with anybody, and she's abrasive. Harry doesn't agree with him. William pushes him into a dog bowl. He falls to the ground, hits a dog bowl. In the process, he breaks his necklace. These are details Harry gives us. But to me, I think if I hear that William is that passionate that they are physically fighting about the topic, which of course nobody's going to defend physical violence, but if you're that passionate, don't you believe what you're saying? Don't you believe that maybe Meghan was a bully to your staff? I mean, and I'm not saying she was or she wasn't. I'm just saying I think that William believed what he was saying, believed the argument. And instead of putting that out there, why don't you just try to diffuse this idea that Meghan is a bully? They said that they replied to Meghan's bully investigation with a 25-page document refuting the charges. Show us. I mean, that ends the conversation right there. But I think his ultimate goal is to support his family, and he wants to clear the air.
But if they did a big investigation and that was it, why wouldn't the palace put something out? I think that's the big thing that comes back to Meghan and Harry is they're like, why do you defend everyone else in the family except for us?
Because
And I think
what
that's
if
their
it's negative?
frustration.
What if it's negative, Dax, and they don't want to continue with this conversation? What if they're just trying to shut it down because the investigation did prove? Because I'm telling you, I do know people that work for the palace that told me she was not kind.
And I'm saying there may have been numerous days that she was not the kindest person. I get that. Everyone has their own issues, right? I get it. And I think it's a weird life to be living in because, like you said, this is a family, but at the end of the day, it's not really a family. This is a corporation. This is a business that they are all working to make sure that they are still well loved in the country. Okay, moving forward, being a royal expert. You know what I'm saying? Has their team ever reached out to you? Has anyone from the palace reached out to you? I'm just curious if how far their story powers extend.
I don't think that anyone from their team has reached out to me unless it's under the guise of some of the anonymous messages I get. I
Hmm.
do get DMs from people that have no profile picture that will send me in a direction, and when I follow the cookie crumbs, I do find the answer. But I've never had somebody, and it's hard to be like, no, never, because I do send the palace Christmas cards, and they send me Christmas cards back, and I'm always posting them like, look, Will and Kate send me a holiday
You
card.
get Christmas cards? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I can't be like, I never communicate with them. But I do get little bits and pieces from people. And, to be honest, one of my best sources is actually a hair guy. Somebody that
Mhm.
does hair for a mutual friend. So yeah, I don't think I've ever heard from the palace specifically, but I do get anonymous messages from people. No profile picture, 17 numbers after the screen name. And if I follow the cookie crumbs, I typically find some pretty good tea.
So I just want to paint a picture because I'm trying to understand like how it works. Because I'm used to celebrity publicist media. With the royals, they have their own institution. So is it like they pretty much that institution? Is it like publicists where they reach out and say, hey, we want to control the narrative, or hey, we have a story for you guys about the royals, or we have a story about Harry? Is that how it works generally?
There's a communications team. I would say that they would consider themselves less PR and more crisis management. So, for instance, as the lead up to Harry's book came out, they created a war room where they put on a wall every potential damaging story that Harry could release. And the William fight was on that wall, so they really consider themselves more a crisis management group. But if Catherine is going to visit a school to learn about underprivileged children and how the community is coping, yes, there will be a press release sent out to the media. But I think they spend most of their time dodging grenades versus, cultivating this image.
Is it? See, they keep. I saw the interview with Harry, and he keeps saying, it's the British media. It's the British media. Now, again, I've never been out there. I've never really read their outlets besides the Daily Mail.
You've read The Sun before. Don't lie. We've been in The Sun like 900
Oh,
times.
that's
I was
true.
going to say,
That's
they know
true.
who you are.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, I've read the Sun, but is it that divided? Because compared to like Harry doing U.S. news outlets, which is also a little bit divided, is it? Are they? Is those outlets just so left or right, or really just trying to find a hard angle to be almost clickbaity?
Let me give you an example from this weekend. Harry tells ITV that there is no royal racist, and they never said that. But Harry tells Anderson Cooper, I think that there were stereotypes that made my family judge my wife. It was that she was a divorced actress. It was that she was an American and that she was Black biracial. So you've just said within a matter of hours, there's no royal racist, but then you tell your American audience that there was racism is why people didn't get along with your wife. And I think that was Harry catering to two different audiences. He knew that there's no way that the UK audience would digest a similar comment. So he was like, no, we never said that. But America really, I mean, racism is really on our radar. So he knows that we'll be able to digest it better. He knows that it will make us fiercely protective of them. And so he is comfortable making that comment to the American audience, but not the UK audience. The UK audience, or I should say that the media in Britain, they are tough. They're very tough, but they're tough on every member of the royal family. And I mean, they're even tough on me. I wrote that I felt like Harry's book, and I was clearly wrong, guys, but I wrote that Harry's book was going to be more to position him as a thought leader so that he could speak on the same stages as Barack Obama or Mark Zuckerberg. I really thought that he wanted to, make a quick buck talking to stuffy suits. And so I was like, no, this book is not going to be a tell-all. It's going to brand him as this thought leader. But I'm on a specific station there. I mean, they did like a 5-minute segment where they just railed on me. And I'm like, yo, I'm on your station. Like they pretended like they didn't know who I was. And I was just such an idiot for saying this. So nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. If it's good TV, if it's clickbait, you're in the crossfire.
How much do the royals care about what is being said in the press? Because when you are that famous and that covered, you know that a lot of it's going to be just crap out there, clickbait, like you said. So are they picking up the magazines? Are they reading through the blogs? Or are they just kind of like seeing what other people tell them?
Every paper is displayed on the table for them every morning when they get up, and they do comb through it. One of my favorite stories is after Fergie got caught, with her toes in a guy's mouth. She was on holiday with the family, and they had every paper spread out for her when she came down the stairs for breakfast. And they were like, look at this, get out. I mean, you need to pack your things and leave. So the newspaper, the newspapers there are very important to them because ultimately they feel like bad press can lead to the end of the monarchy. So they do need positive press. They need a positive response to their existence. And obviously this is a difficult time for them.
I'm just trying to paint. I just want to see what it's like, or if you actually have any intel of what it's like for when the royals actually, when the cameras aren't there, the press isn't there, they're in a room together. I'm curious how they talk to each other. Are they sitting there talking very properly to each other, or are they talking, they're not your average family, but they're like, what are you doing? Like fighting, like what is the conversations internally with the family?
Well, I think Harry gives us great insight to that when he talks about that fight between William at the very end of his book. He also discusses a private conversation that happens between himself, his brother, and Prince Charles, now King Charles. But it happened after Prince Philip's funeral, and Charles continuously calls Harry darling boy. I mean, he's almost 40 years old and he's calling him darling boy. I think that's a little different communications wise than America communicates. And then, I mean, obviously the most down to earth is probably Harry and William in private. But for the most part, I do think that they're kind of stuffy, and their communication is odd and not similar to ours, and not, I think Harry is much more touchy-feely. He's got the California energy, which they just cannot relate to now.
If I walked up to them and I was like, hey, what's up, brother? How you doing? Like, that's how I just talk to people.
I know.
Would they be offended by that? Or would they be like, are you kidding me? Would they ignore me? How would they react to that? Because I'm sure, when people come up, even with the Queen, you're supposed to bow a little bit. It was like, hey, how you doing? Would they just respond and be taken back or be appalled by me, almost disrespecting them?
I think they're used to everyone out there.
Yeah, I think so too. And you would have to be in a very specific situation. You would probably be waiting outside for them for hours. And the moment would be so brief, but honestly, your sincerity would probably be so refreshing. I don't think they'd be insulted by it, but it's certainly not the way they communicate with each other.
Yeah. How do they actually move around the city? Like when they leave the palace and they move around, is it like when, I've been in New York City when the president's around and streets are closed down. It's the worst thing ever. But when they just want to go around to go something, how is it like when they actually get into a car and move around? Like what's the brigade like?
Well, when you're talking about when William and Catherine were in Boston, it was very similar to what you just described for the president. But they specifically recently moved to Windsor so that they can move around comfortably. In Windsor, they'll just get on a horsed carriage and drive around the town. They'll ride around in their Range Rovers. They'll ride around in their bicycle. And there's actually video that was recently released of William confronting somebody with a camera because he was following him and the kids around on their bicycles. So they can move around comfortably if they are near their home. But if they come out to Boston or they come out to the States, they have a very presidential entourage.
Sure, but when they're near their home, sorry, Dad.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like I've seen when the Queen was around, I saw her out driving her Range Rover around. Are they all just literally driving through the streets of London, just willy-nilly, just having a freedom?
Yeah.
Like that to me is so crazy to think that you are one of the most famous people in the world, and you're just scooting through, stopping at red lights like the rest of us.
Well, Dax, that's why I laugh out loud at these ideas of these secret affairs that some of these people are accused of having. Because yes, you can jump in the Range Rover and you can run down to Topshop if you want to grab a blazer. But there are 50 people that know where you're going, you're GPSed, and you have security guards hovering. There's no sneaking around, no, because so many people are alerted to where you are going and what your plans are second for second. But they are able to jump in the Range Rover and drive around. But yes, there are security guards that are in the car with them, behind them, following them around. The woman that one of the housewives that had a little fling with Harry discussed making out with him and feeling his security guard watching and it getting weird. So they're always there. They're always hovering.
Are they approachable when they're home? Like, can you go up to them and say hi or even get a photo with or a selfie?
I don't think that that's appropriate, but you can say hi to them, but I wouldn't ask them for a photo. I do think that they are kind and courteous in the real world. I mean, especially if you're like a mom that also goes to the school that the kids go to, that your children go to school together, absolutely smile, say hi, offer them yeah, let's go get coffee sometime. I mean, I'm sure that Kate would love that, but I would not be like, hey, oh my gosh, Princess of Wales, let's get a selfie. Unless they're at an official event, and then they're happy to do that, which is new. They used to not take selfies, and now they do.
What is the general feel for Prince Harry at this point in London? Like in the UK? How does the UK feel? Because I feel like there's difference of opinions between the US and the UK. So I'm just curious what it's like over there.
Polling numbers are at the worst they've ever been, according to the most recent YouGov poll. I haven't seen a new poll since he's done these back-to-back interviews or since the release of the book. So I'm sure that they're going to be updated numbers. But, man on the street style interviews that some of the news outlets have done out there, people have been like, can you just stop talking? Or, don't talk to your brother.
Is this book going to be a big seller in the UK?
Oh, it's going to be a big seller everywhere because we are morbid. Our morbid curiosity is out the roof. I absolutely think everybody's going to buy it. And it's like you said, he's going to give details into what it's like to be a member of the royal family that we've never heard before. So yeah, everybody's going to buy the book.
Do you know if by any chance Meghan Markle had to sign an NDA when she married Harry?
She did not. And she actually said that to The Cut. She told The Cut that and they surprisingly kind of went after Harry's book on their Instagram and called some of the revelations unhinged. But she told The Cut that she did not sign an NDA and she could say whatever she wants. Harry documents in the book that Meghan journaled throughout her time in the royal family. And we do know that Meghan has a book deal too. So I fiercely believe that a book from Meghan is on the horizon. And maybe she'll mention Hollywood Raw since she listens to your podcast.
Yes, she did. We'll say did once.
Well, it's funny.
I want to ask you, Kinsey, because you know so much just details about the royal family for so many years. What are your thoughts on The Crown and the Netflix show? How accurate is it? Because they've always said that this is like, based on actual events. You're not watching necessarily reality, but I am curious how much of that show you feel like is actual?
I mean, a lot of it is actual. You can't deny the fact that Prince Charles cheated on Princess Diana with Camilla Parker Bowles, his friend's wife. A lot of, I'd say genuinely, that the stories are sincere. It's the words where you need to watch yourself. But they really don't sway too much from the truth. And the way that they cast these people is incredible. The Princess Dianas over the last few years, Elizabeth Debicki and Emma Corrin, were so sweet and wonderful and charming, and you really fell in love with them and felt like it was really Diana. So I'd say that if you watch it and say, I'm watching this for entertainment value, I know this is not a documentary, you're in a safe headspace. Don't watch it and think you're watching a documentary. Just kind of know that it's loosely based on reality.
I love The Crown.
It's so good.
I think it's a great show. I love the drama in there, but I think it does really paint the royal family as not a family, an institution, kind of like has been said a couple times in this podcast, because it is about the monarch and not about kind of anyone else's feelings. It's like whatever needs to be done for the institution as a whole to keep it moving forward, even if you're in love or you have something going on, like protect it at all costs. And if you're going to cheat, do it on the down low so you don't embarrass everyone.
Right. Well, keep in mind, too, which is crazy. I wish they would have gone back more, because Prince Charles, King Charles, his great-great-grandfather had an affair with Camilla's great-grandmother, Alice Keppel. So Camilla grew up, this is real life, Camilla grew up on a fortune that was left to her family by Charles's great-great-grandfather. On his deathbed, he wanted Camilla's great-grandmother there. And so, like, how crazy that full circle, the mistress actually becomes the queen consort. Alice Keppel, that was never a reality for Camilla's great-grandmother. And here now, Camilla is the queen consort. It's wild.
I think when Princess Diana passed away, when she died, I think we all sort of remember where we were when we saw that happen, when we learned about it. You know, I think, can we all agree that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't remember.
You don't?
But I remember the stories. I remember the stories, but I'm like, I feel like I was pretty young at the time.
I was young too, but I just remember I was
a fetus.
Yeah. I actually remember I think I was on a plane, or I just got off a plane when I learned about she passed away. But I'm just curious with this story, right? Prince Harry's book, and because there's so many stories coming from this book, how does this whole story compare to or rank in the biggest royal stories in the last, maybe 30, 40 years?
Well, I mean, he's following the Diana playbook, Adam. Diana secretly released a book with Andrew Morton. Diana sat down with Martin Bashir and Panorama and did that tell-all interview where she said she didn't feel like Charles was the right man for the job of king, and she thought that they should skip and go straight to William. So it does feel like Harry is following a playbook that his mother created. Yes, I'd say that Diana's death, if we're looking at the last 25 to 30 years, I'd say Diana's death is still the number one story. And because Diana already did some of these things that Harry's done, it's almost like, yes, this is a big deal right now, but it was a bigger deal when she did it because she was the first one to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
I think Harry leaving the royal, like exiting as an active royal, was a pretty massive story. I mean, that I think that ranks up there as Queen Elizabeth's uncle giving up the throne.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's a huge story. That was just way before our time. Do you think Charles and King Charles and Prince William will read this book?
I don't. I think that somebody's going to give them highlights. Somebody's going to say, these are the most concerning stories, and how should we respond? And during the war room debates about the book and about what could potentially be released, it said that William actually broke from protocol and said, I would really like to respond to this. And Charles and the team convinced William that it just was not the right move, that if they continue to respond, it becomes a he said, she said, and it continues the conversation. And if they continue to be quiet, and the never complain, never explain, if they can continue to be quiet, then it could stop the conversation. It could stop the bleeding,
But there you go, because it's like, don't respond, but respond by leaking it out.
But that's
that's the part that I have a hard time with them is don't go on the record, but like leak it out so that our side is out there, but we are not attaching our name to it. That's the only part that I'm like, it doesn't seem fair.
That's where I start to feel guilty, because I do know that some of the people that communicate with me don't have their permission. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do know that some of them, are like just listening to conversations that have happened around them. I know that some people, I know that all people don't have their permission to talk to me. So that's where I feel guilty if I repeat something that somebody sends me, because I know that Prince William didn't approve that comment, or I know that Prince William didn't approve that messaging. And so that's where I'm the bad guy, Dax. I guess I have to, I guess I have to admit it. I've never heard anything that's been approved by the palace that I've been given permission to repeat.
Yeah. I don't know. My other thing is there's times that do they want it out? They're just not signing off on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There is a story right now. I believe it was in the Times over the weekend, where friends that were both friends of Prince Harry and Prince William are so mad that William can't defend himself that they're talking about maybe doing their own interviews. So yeah, that exists.
Interesting.
Man, there's just
like,
so
how
many...
do I word this?
Yeah, I don't want to sound
too pissed, makes me nervous with Adam.
No, I know. I thought it was really interesting during the interview. I don't know which interview he said it, but he mentioned that he mentioned Meghan was like a huge actress. He goes, "Oh, Meghan, she's a huge actress."
Who said this? Harry did?
I think Harry said it. And I don't consider Meghan a huge actress. Is she a working actress? Yes, but I wouldn't consider her a huge actress. Like, she was an actress, and then Harry comes along and makes her into a star.
Right. But no, seriously, Adam, had you ever approached Meghan before she was Prince Harry's girlfriend? Had you ever seen her on the street? And you are the guy. Had you ever seen her on the street and got a soundbite from her?
Saw her on the street, didn't even lift up my camera.
See? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So she became a star once she became with Harry. And I thought it was interesting to one of the interviews that Harry mentions, oh, she's a star. And then I thought it was interesting that he mentioned, I think, his brother or someone along the lines. And I could be wrong, because I'm confused, because there's so many stories come on. Every single time I go on the internet, there's a new story about Harry, that their family... Penis. Yeah, and his penis. And that the family was a fan of Suits, which for some reason I find that hard to believe.
I was deceased when I read this. I have a very hard... Okay, first of all...
Who watches the USA Network?
And they contradict themselves constantly. Harry says that both William and Catherine were fans of Suits before he started dating Meghan Markle. They were excited that he was dating Meghan Markle, but then Meghan Markle tells us that when she met William and Catherine for the first time, she was wearing ripped jeans and barefoot, and they were uncomfortable at the idea of hugging her, and they were very formal behind the scenes and weren't very kind. Now, if I'm a fan of yours, I'm going to lose my mind when I meet you, or I'm going to at least try to play. I'm going to be excited to meet you. And so what you said about Meghan was a big actress is he's saying that maybe Catherine was jealous of her because she was a big actress. And I would argue that I just think they have different upbringings. I don't think that they have a lot in common. Catherine grew up in a home with parents that were married, 2 siblings that she would, crawl in bed with and cuddle with, that she still calls whenever she has problems. Her family is self-made. Her parents are entrepreneurs. They have a party props company. And Meghan grew up in a household that was divided. Her parents split. She would tell you that she grew up as a single child, even though she has step siblings. I just think that their backgrounds are different. And I think that their goals are different. I don't think that it has anything to do with jealousy. I just think it's what do we have in common? Not much.
I think more than that, there's just a lot of differences between being raised in the U.S. and being raised in the
Absolutely,
UK.
Yes.
It is different. It's also different knowing how to be around royals and, just listening to Meghan talk about what do you do? This is your grandma, but you bow to your grandma. I can understand that is a weird situation to be in because
Dax, my grandma lives in Arkansas and I still bow to her. Okay, Dax.
That is a lie and you know it. And I am leaking it out to the press.
I have to challenge you on something really quick, Dax.
What's up? What's
So,
up? What's up?
what is the difference? Because
Mhm.
Harry and Meghan are incredibly critical of Thomas Markle for speaking to the press. And they say this in the Netflix special, like how horrible that Thomas Markle will cut a check to talk about his family. What is the
Mhm.
difference between Thomas Markle going on television, talking about wanting to reconcile with Meghan and oversharing about their past? What's the difference between that and Harry doing exactly what he's doing right now?
When it comes to Thomas Markle, I feel that he changed his story for money. I think that's the difference.
Okay.
I feel that he was willing to do whatever he needed to say or do to make a buck, whether it was reality or not.
Mm,
With Meghan and Harry, I feel like they're putting out their truth. With Thomas Markle, I feel like that was not his truth. I also feel the same thing with Meghan's sister or half sister or whatever the hell she is.
yeah.
I I don't think there was a, and there may have been a relationship. Maybe Megan's downplaying the relationship there. I don't know because I wasn't around. But I would say it seems like they are taking advantage of the situation. And anytime someone calls up and says, I'll give you $100 to say this, they say it. And, for Thomas Markle to then go after the paparazzi agency and say, oh, well, I looked hammy, I looked cheesy. I mean, you're literally working with them. You're sitting in front of a screen looking at pictures of, Megan or of London and all this stuff. Like, you set yourself up. You didn't like the outcome and you look like a laughing stock of the world. Like, that's what you get.
Yeah.
So that I would say that is the difference between them saying stuff and Thomas. I just don't feel like it's genuine. I feel like he was manipulated into saying whatever he wanted for some money. And we saw that with um Simon Rex when we had
Right.
him on.
Absolutely.
He the British press was pushing him to say a false narrative for money. And he said, "No, I will not say I had sex with her just because you guys want to pay me $70,000." So Thomas, unfortunately, I think fell into that, and then it just hurts more when it's your own flesh and blood and your dad who should have protected you. I don't
Right.
know. That's all.
Right. No, you make great points. I love you. I like your style, Dax.
What's the latest with Prince Andrew? What's his deal right now?
Well, he's dodging grenades from Prince Harry, which is really surprising because Prince Harry's his godson, and Prince Harry's very close to his daughters. We've seen Eugenie actually came out for the Super Bowl, and there were great pictures of them at the Super Bowl together. Eugenie and Beatrice, I think, are both featured in the documentary, not necessarily speaking, but there are great shots of them throughout it and video of them throughout it, with the couple. So he's laying low. We don't anticipate him to have any role whatsoever in the coronation, although he might be there. And right now, Prince Harry is pointing out a lot what he feels like are hypocrisies of the family to continue to protect Andrew when Andrew was accused of doing something far more offensive or far more damaging to the family than Harry was. But it is surprising to see Harry go after him because they've been close. I mean, when he talks about meeting the Queen for the first time, he's with Andrew. Andrew walks them in. It's Fergie that actually teaches Meghan how to curtsy. So it's surprising to hear him be critical of Andrew.
I feel like he's just going after everyone,
All the
unfortunately.
things. All the
Yeah,
things.
I think he is just like, I'm gonna air out everything. And yeah, I don't know necessarily the outcome. I don't know what Prince Harry wants out of all this. I don't know if he just wants to clear the air or to, you know, like you said, get everything off the table so that there's nothing left to come after him with. I don't know what the ultimate goal is here. Do we think that there at some point there will be some kind of resolution that him and his dad and his brother will make up? Or do you think we are past that and it is all going downhill from here?
Well, my astrology friends say that reconciliation is potentially a possibility. I'm like, that's vague.
Yeah.
But I think that William loves him desperately, and William spent so much of his life fiercely protecting Harry. I do think that the family feels like Meghan is the disruptor,
Mhm.
and maybe that's fair, maybe that's not fair, but I think William desperately loves his little brother and misses him. So will there be a reconciliation? I hope so. And I think that there will be, but there is so much hurt right now, and time heals all wounds. So maybe the ultimate goal here is time and for things to settle down.
I would say, if the royal family, quote me on this, if the royal family wants some good PR, forgiveness would be the most massive PR move ever. Because if they were to say, hey, we've all had shit happen, we all have skeletons in our closet, we all have messed up, and we all are sorry, and they reconcile and embrace each other, I think that would be the most positive press move, because everyone likes a redemption story. Everyone.
Yes.
Doesn't matter who you are, everyone likes redemption, and everyone likes forgiveness. And if they were able to all forgive each other as a whole, I think the world would love that story, and it would put everyone back in good graces. Everyone.
Yeah.
Kinsey, I got a quick question for you, and I don't know if this is too inside baseball, but I was just seeing maybe if you knew the answer. But do you know who Harry or Meghan's publicist is? Who's actually like doing the deals and setting up their appointments for them? Do they have a company, PR company, agency person who's doing it for them?
Well, for the last 7 years, at least, Meghan has worked with Sunshine Sachs.
She's still with Sunshine Sachs.
They were on retainer, and now I think it's a case-by-case basis. And I only say case-by-case because we heard they separated around the time that the Queen died. But Sunshine Sachs did help them with that Robert F. Kennedy Award that they received for fighting racism. They also represent the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation. So I do think that they still have a relationship, and it's a case-by-case thing. But I do think that they would say that their PR is in-house.
So does Harry have the same publicist? Because I know that you're saying so the girl that was working with Meghan is one of the partners at Sunshine Sachs. Now, if you're listening, Sunshine Sachs is a huge PR firm. The girl that represents Meghan is a partner of the company. She also represents, based on what I'm looking at, also represents Natalie Portman, Salma Hayek, and Jane Fonda. Does Harry have a publicist, or does he just go through Meghan's team?
From what I understand, he just goes through Meghan's team, but I also think Sunshine Sachs represents Tyler Perry, which would explain his very large presence in the Netflix documentary.
That makes unless they've all just kind of known each other,
Right.
I did feel like he was a big part of their, I don't want to say escape from the UK, but
right.
At the same time, their transition over here to the US, he was a big part of it. But I was surprised to see him on there.
Tom Bauer, I know it's kind of like Tyler Perry, like you're Medea. This is like this. Isn't this?
He is one of the biggest producers in movie and TV. I mean, he's huge.
I love him to death. But Tom Bauer wrote a book called Revenge, and he talked about how when Harry and Meghan's press started to go south, that they recruited Sunshine Sachs to reach out to some of their clients to support them publicly, to try to change the narrative. And so that's the only reason why I mentioned that, because if that truly was the case, then maybe that's how we know Tyler's close to Oprah and Gayle, but perhaps that's how some of those relationships were forged from the beginning. Sunshine Sachs saying, hey, we feel like these guys are unfairly getting picked on. Could you just speak up?
So you actually might be right on that. And again, while you're speaking this, I'm just doing research on my own end, just because I'm curious of the teams and what goes on in that. So what I found out is also the girl that represents Meghan also does a little bit of work for Tyler Perry, which is Sunshine Sachs. So you could be right that Tyler Perry said, listen, came over, helped as a friend, said, let my publicists and my team help you guys out. So yes, they're both represented by the same PR firm, and I guess share the partner in Sunshine Sachs represents a little bit of Tyler, but is solely working with Meghan as well. So you could be right. You're probably right on that.
I have no idea where we go from here either. Obviously, America loves Harry. They want to embrace him, but is he going to be able to to really be a leader in the States. And I think that it was kind of a crucial element. I think he still wanted to be able to hang out with Barack and some of these people. And when you release things like that, you guys know he's become a skit on Jimmy Kimmel. He's become a skit on Jimmy Fallon. When you become a punchline, how hard is it to crawl back up and be this respected individual that runs Invictus Games and runs mental health companies or counseling companies like Better Up, where he's the CFO. Or is it, no, it's Chief Impact Officer. He's the Chief Impact Officer of Better Up. Are those opportunities going to dry up for oversharing or this TMI? I don't know.
I think that just means you're famous. It means
Right?
Everyone is talking about you when you become skits, because you are so famous and so relevant that you are. More people need to talk about you is really what I think it comes down to. Kinsey, tell us about your podcast, because I know people that are obsessed with royals will want to check out your podcast. So tell us more about To Die For Daily.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. You can find me at To Die For Daily, todiefordaily.com. I talk to really handsome people like Dax and Adam about what their thoughts are on the British royal family. I have got some insider info from people that knew Princess Diana, like Andrew Morton. We broke the story probably almost a year ago now, with Tom Quinn, about how Harry and Meghan wanted the half in, half out lifestyle in the royal family. So I hope you take a listen.
Yeah, and we were on there, and it was funny. It was like one quote that we said, like, made the press
Everywhere.
over in the UK, and it was everywhere. I was like, what? I didn't realize that we say one thing, and it would like went wild. I think it said, like, I don't care what the UK has to say, like, Meghan and Harry
Meghan and Harry, yeah.
They're royal to us
Yes.
here in the US. That shit went wild over there. I did not realize that you had such a crazy loyal audience in the UK that was going to quote every little thing, but that was really cool.
Or maybe you didn't realize how much power you had, Dax.
That's not true. But thank you. And yes, go check out, if you are into the royals, check out her podcast, To Die For Daily. I think you will like it. I think you'll see a different perspective. But no, thank you, Kinsey. Thanks for jumping on, because we knew with, his book coming out this week that, he's just been all over the news. The royal family has been all over. So we thought you'd be a really fun person to chat about all this. And you definitely did not disappoint.
Yeah, it's all the penis talk. I don't think that if I wouldn't have mentioned the word penis 6 or 7 times that you'd be so happy with me.
We that's what gets us excited over here. Royal pee-pee.
Well, you guys know I love you both so much. And Adam, if you ever are just looking for a trophy wife, I think that I could be a great option for you.
Listen, if you could get me into the royal wedding or some sort of royal events, maybe like get us into the castle, I'll consider. So we can, we could do that. Kinsey, thank you so much. Honestly, it's good to learn from like your perspective, and just like Dax is obsessed with the royals. I'm still I'm in rookie mode, so I'm still trying to like paint the picture and trying to learn about it. So thank you for kind of painting that picture for me, humanizing, make me understand it more. So I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out her podcast. Again, it's To Die, D-I, not D-I.
Yes.
Yeah, so D-I. Kinsey, thank you so much.
All right, well, that was fun. Listen, I love the royals, so to me that was a very entertaining episode. Adam, how did you do? Did we keep you alive, awake? I never know when it comes to royals. I feel like I could see your eyes rolling back, but no. How was it for you?
I'm into it. It's just that I never really paid attention to the royals, and I think I can't be the only one who's felt like that, because we're not. I'm in America, so I don't understand. I'm still trying to understand the magnitude of the royals, because it's just such a wild way to think of a family that's not really a family, because they're a monarchy. It's an institution, and basically Harry grew up in a house or a castle with no love and no nurture. It was just straight into like a corporation,
well, he had the love, he had the nurture. Unfortunately, his mother passed away, but she was that love nurturing force for him for a very long time. Well, not long enough, let's say that.
Sure.
And I think that's why when she passed away, it destroyed him.
Yeah. So no, and again, unless you're living under a rock, every time you go to Yahoo, Google, wherever you get your news, there's a new Prince Harry royal story in the last 3 weeks. It's just wild how it keeps floating in the news. And the only reason why that's happening is because people are clicking on these stories. So obviously there's a lot of people around the world that are very interested in this story. But Kinsey did a good job of kind of making me kind of paint the picture in my own head just so I can understand the magnitude of
and
how crazy it is.
I like some of the details that she had that I didn't even know about, you know, like even the Camilla story, her great grandma, like that's stuff that just over years you learn details, and I didn't know that. That was kind of fun to learn. So anyway, thank you, Kinsey, for coming on the podcast. By the way, guys, please take a second, go leave a review. We're starting to dwindle low on reviews, so I don't have a lot to read anymore. So I need some new reviews for us. Head over to Apple, find our show, scroll down to the bottom. 5 stars only. Leave us some comment and make sure you add your name to it so I can read your name out loud when I give you a little shout out here on the air. And make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on TikTok. We got our private Facebook group called Off the Record, where there are so many questions coming in there, Adam. I'm having a hard time keeping up because people are having so much fun, and I want to be a part of the funness that I'm like trying to jump in. But I love you guys. I love our Facebook group. It is one thing that I feel like has kept us going even through the holidays when we were going to like kind of just do some pre-recorded shows. And then I was reading the Facebook group. I was like, we got to give them a live weekly show every week. And so thank you guys. We do really listen to you, and we really appreciate all of you and all your input you give us on Off the Record. So anyway, you can follow Adam at Adam Glyn. You can follow me at Dax Holt. And that's all I got. Adam, you got anything else?
That's it. Ciao, ciao.